Hey, this is Dan Rich Speaks, and I want to talk to you about how to become the perfect husband. You ready? Let's get into it. Okay, so listen, you're probably sitting here and you're like, how to become the perfect husband? That's not even possible. Yes, it is. And I'm going to give you the game for free right now. I'm going to give you the three things that you can do right now to start becoming the perfect husband. Okay, listen to me closely. Step number one that I took was I turned away from my spouse and back to God. Yep, I turned away from my spouse and back to God. I stopped seeking um, her happiness and started seeking my obedience in God's plan, right? I stopped seeking her happiness and turned to God's obedience in his plan. That's step number one. Because when I was making my wife a priority in her happiness, in my own strength, you cannot achieve it. I don't know her that well. I don't care if we live to be together until 70, 80 years old. I still will not know everything about her. I still will not know her the way that God knows her. And I will not know some of the needs that maybe she doesn't know how to articulate, but God will. So I did that. Number two is I turned back to me. I started focusing on being the best version of Damon, not because of my spouse, but because I want to be the best version of me that I possibly can. So when I'm being the best version of me, a byproduct for my wife is she gets the best version of me. And that best version of me, if that doesn't do it for her, we have a whole nother problem because that best version of me is based on what God wants me to be. And if I'm being that best version of me, according to God's plan, following his plan, then my wife should benefit, or there's a issue that between her and God. They got to talk that out. That's not a me issue. And here's number three, and this is the most important thing. I stopped trying to be the perfect husband. I abandoned the idea of being a perfect husband. And in abandoning the idea of trying to be a perfect husband, I started becoming the perfect husband because it is fictitious that you can be a perfect husband because who sets the bounds of that? The only way you can be the perfect husband is to be the husband that God called you to be. That's it. And that's going to look different for everybody based on the purpose that God has. There's going to be some core things that are the same, but there's going to be some nuances based on the mission. I'll give you an example. Samson was a Nazarite. And when Samson came into the earth to be a Nazarite, his walk was different than everyone else around him, except for maybe other Nazarites, right? So there were some core foundational things, belief in God and those type of things, but he has a different set of rules based on the purpose that God had for his life. So based on the purpose that God has for you and your marriage, there may be some core foundational rules that you have to follow, but there's going to be some different things. So your perfect marriage may not look like this other person's perfect marriage, and therefore someone may say, well, your marriage is not perfect. You can do this. No. Once I stopped seeking being perfect, things transform. So listen, you can become the perfect husband. Your wife can even apply this formula and become the perfect wife. If you do these things, your marriage is going to be fine because it is all a part of God's plan. And when I turn to him, focus on me, and abandon nonsense, I can be perfect. It's just not the definition that the world tries to make you think it is. So listen, that's all I have for you. And until the next video, God bless.